It's actually pretty early for me to be going out on the walks. You might actually, no, you still can't see them. Why would you see them? I have ulterior motives. I haven't seen Perry, my little orange tripod cat, in a couple days. That doesn't mean anything because they can come and go as, through their cat door. So he's probably been coming and going, getting food and leaving immediately because it's been hot. And so the reason I'm nervous is the last time he was gone for a couple days, he was shot and he lost his leg. I mean, it is early yet. He does hear me. He hears me when I talk and he comes running. So ulterior motives. And my last video was actually a request, and it really did well enough. Oh, now you can see him. There's Pops, and there's Pixie. Percy was asleep in my bedroom. He's been real lazy, which he's the one that's usually out in it. Pansy doesn't usually like to come walks anyway, which is fine because she has a heart problem. So she's probably home. I saw her, but I haven't seen Perry in a couple days. I work on weekends, so this is why I'm very unavailable. So yeah, back to it. The last video was a request, and it did very well, and I guess it struck a nerve. I do watch the numbers. They freak me out when they go up, actually. I think, maybe, I don't know, I should step back. Classic avoidance. What can I say? Can't be successful. It used to be part of the diagnostic criteria that if you had, it was, what was it? Underemployed used to be part of the diagnostic criteria. Anyway, so actually I'm kind of surprised that I'm making a video so quick. Usually when I have a video that hits, I take like a couple weeks off because I'm like, but again, ulterior motives of scaring up my cat. He usually comes running out of these woods here. And I don't hear him. And I don't see him. Doesn't mean he's not there. But he's pretty vocal usually. He says hi. Okay. So what I think I'm going to do is give an update on my plans. Recap for what's happened in the past year and a half was I was coping with my son a lot, and seeing the finish line that he was going to graduate from high school, which happened despite him really being aggressive, and at one point they were going to suspend him like 2 months before he graduated, and oh my god, it was terrible. Anyway, and then my mother died, and then my father went into there we go. I told you he'd come running out of the woods. Hi, Perry. How are you? Hi. You want to go for a walk? No? I don't blame you. It's been hot. He doesn't want to. Hi, let me pick you up. Okay. Oh. Whoops. You okay? Okay. He's good. He's purring. He's right here and purring. See? Right there. Anyway, yeah. So that was like a major giant life change. And then my son did graduate high school and he went to college. And that was fantastic. And I was trying to figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. Or even more importantly, how short it was. And I'm sure that people don't get how close I came to following through. I mean, I had this plan for years and years and years. I mean, the date on the calendar and everything else. And actually, I had a date, and I knew, because I kept pushing it back, that there was a chance that I wasn't going to have to go through with it, but I really, truly thought I would. I mean, there's no way. Like, I have a friend who, when he turned 48, I celebrated his party. Get a party and a cake and everything. I didn't involve him, of course, because I'm waiting. But I mean, I threw a party for his 48th birthday because I thought 100% for sure I would never see my own. Because it's just, the goal was to get my son to 18 and out of the house, and then I would no longer be obligated in order to suffer the way I'd been suffering. And a lot of it, actually, with these secondary issues, was, dealing with my mother and her illness and her demands. It was unbelievable, and it was so frustrating that she was like, and she'd tell me point blank that she would give me some terrible thing to do, like take her to the doctor and listen to her bitch or something. I know that sounds awful, but she would get scared and frustrated and take it out on me and be basically abusive. And then she'd say, but I want you to act like I'm doing you a favor by letting you take me to the doctor. Oh, it was awful. And my son basically did the same thing. My father depended on me more and more and more because he had dementia. But he got nicer and nicer as the years went by. It's like he forgot to be an absolute bastard. With my son, it was all the doctors, the school constantly, all the teachers, all the therapists, all. I mean, it was so difficult to cope with all that. And I really, truly thought, this is it. This is my life. My life is pure hell. Is dealing with these people forever. And I just couldn't anymore. And I really thought, if I just die, then I'm done. I'm done. I don't have to deal with this crap anymore. And somehow, in the course of about 4 months, it all went away. All of it. I mean, it also meant that all of my human connections went away. And I still don't have any, really. I talked to a couple of people online. But in person, no. I mean, I have my job, which is extremely impersonal, to say the least. Like, I don't make friends at work. I don't really interact with people at work. It's a very singular job. Even though it is a service job, it's hard to explain. Working online. There's a reason why they loved it when this quarantine came up, and people were saying, gosh, I get so much more work done. It's because they weren't interacting with people and they were just doing the work. That's it. Get it done. Pear, what do you say? You want to go home? Let's see if I can get him to go home. Cats are all over the place now. And it's early yet, so the dogs are going to still be out. So what I did when everything was coming to an end, basically I looked at the bucket list type thing. And I was like, well, I'm going to go on a trip. Let me go on a trip. I used to travel all the time before I had... You coming? Oh, he's going to go chase fireflies. They're all over the grass. I don't think you can see them. I used to travel when I was a teenager before I had my son. I would just do it all the time. It was like, oh, here's a weekend, let me go. And so I did that. I thought it would be like, this is my last blast, let me get this out of the way. And that was last November. And I found that it was a fantastic distraction. And it kept me going. And, I've decided it was a very good coping technique, especially because then my son got kicked out of college and came home and was just as abusive as he tried to be, and then was informed, and not by me, that he had to leave the house or he'd be arrested, because once you're 18 and you're physically abusive to somebody, that's a crime. I mean, it's a crime when you're underage too, but I mean, that's like a different level. And that he would be going to jail the next time he assaulted me, regardless of him insisting that I deserved it, because I would do things like tell him to do laundry. Well, I deserved to get beaten for that, or at least attacked, because, he felt attacked, so I needed to be attacked anyway. And that's what I was living with. Living with the abuse of my mother, living with the Pixie and Perry did not get along. My father was always very physically abusive. And again, he got Alzheimer's and sort of forgot to be that way. It's been years since I really thought of my father as a threat. And now he's in a home, so I don't have to do the work, and I know how ungrateful that makes me sound, but he needed somebody to help him basically live and survive. And do all his grocery shopping, do his cleaning, all that stuff, and I don't have to do it anymore. It's great. So, has the depression completely gone away? No, it hasn't. That's for sure. It comes and goes. I think it always will. Again, the being alone thing, and yet a lot of the things I would do to be alone, I'm continuing to do. I've not made progress. I got therapy, and it started to go off the rails, so I stopped therapy. When it gets to be, I tell this to people, therapy can be great, but then it gets to a point where it's causing more stress and more harm. And for me, how I can tell that something's gone south with the therapy is when I basically feel like I can't say anything to the therapist anymore. And I feel like I'm trying to withhold stuff. And I'm trying to sort of paint a picture that's better than it is, and allow therapists to talk about stuff that I don't need to talk about, and take it in a different direction. My therapist was trying hard to get me to start a relationship with somebody. That's the easy fix. The therapist I had before him seriously told me, this is a shit therapist, as opposed to the one I just had, who was pretty good. Just frustrated, and nothing was changing really. But the therapist before told me to go down the bars at the end of the night when they kick everybody out, and find somebody who was really drunk, and basically get myself impregnated, because I was so suicidal, and so that was the deadline, was I had to wait until my son was 18. So if I had another kid, then I would have to go another 20 years before I could die again. That was her work. Perry's over there. Come on, Pear. And there's Poppy. I guess they all need a break. Do you guys all need a break? Okay, I'll stop. Anyway. See, he can run pretty fast. When are you going back in the woods? Don't do that, cat. Let's go home. Get some food. So I found this thing that was staving off the depression. What you looking at, cat? Is there somebody over there? Is it the cat I thought that was asleep in my house and he's not? Can't even see him. There he is. It's over there. Oh, it's two more of my cats. I have too many cats. So I thought that doing this travel thing, I mean, it was great, but it was not sustainable. I figured at some point I'm going to run out of money. And that I should be finding more. Here he comes. I should be finding more adaptive coping techniques rather than maladaptive coping techniques, like dwelling constantly on the idea that I'm going to kill myself in order to survive the day. I mean, it was basically like an alcoholic doing the one day at a time thing, but it was just don't die one day. Don't die one day. Give me one more day. Just don't die. Come on, you got to make it to your deadline. It's seriously, that is how I survived for years and years and years. And now I've got this new thing going on that I don't have to die. And I don't have to interact with my kid. I don't think I've interacted with him for a week, maybe? I don't know. I've lost track. You know, he got in touch with me to tell me that I better have money for him. Right. Sure. So the next thing I did to try to make myself accountable was I started an Instagram where I started putting up lots and lots of pictures of all my trips. Lots and lots of pictures. And I also started Patreon, especially the Patreon, because it, I'm getting paid to live, basically. Paid to go on trips, take pictures, and to make videos on YouTube. So, I don't like to let people down. That was tremendous, actually. I'll put the links in the notes when I upload this, if you want to see it. And Patreon that's a basic Patreon. I send people postcards. I give them updates on what's happening. And then, of course, we had this nifty pandemic. So this was right after I survived my deadline. I made it past my 48th birthday, and somehow. And, you would think these cats would be a reason for me to keep going, but I was like, yeah, they're cute. They're great. Other people will take care of them for me. Didn't stop me, but the planning part of the trips did. Look at her chasing a moth like a nut. Here she comes. What a mean kitty. So the pandemic came along, and I caught it. And then I recovered. And then I had lost exactly what I'd feared, my coping technique of travel. And no planning. And no nothing. Oh, come on, cat. Don't get squished. That would be terrible. Oh, no. They're smart. It's okay, Perry. It's okay, Perry. Don't run in front of this car. Please don't run in front of this car. Okay, they're all safe. Come on, Pear. Come here, Poppy. Oh, I might have lost him. I wanted him home to eat so I can see him eat. Up, here he comes. Good boy. So, what I started to do was really push against the limits of what I was able to do, and as far as restrictions and quarantine and stuff, because again, I already had it. I'm not going to catch it, and I had it. Oh, they're being cute. I had it for 5 days before I was notified to check to see that I had it, and I was basically asymptomatic. Felt like garbage. Didn't realize why. I thought it was a time change, and I did not make anybody sick. They did do contact tracing, and I was already, doing everything you're supposed to do, following guidelines, and I did not make anybody sick. So I'm pretty sure that I won't catch it myself. Oh, here comes another car. Why do they want to be laying in the street? It's okay, Perry. See, that one's just flying by. Anyway, so I started doing day trips around the state, and I did this thing where I was like, I'm going to go find all the big waterfalls, because I also felt, after I recovered from that disease and after I did not die, that I'm like, geez, live, do something, like physical with my body. I can do it. I still have a body, and I recovered from having a partially collapsed lung, and if I'm physically able to do something, go do it. So I'm doing these big hikes in the woods, and then last week, because again the quarantine distance is being pushed back, I went to New Hampshire because I live in Maine, and again, more hikes in the woods. And I went to an attraction that I had heard about from another YouTube person who travels around, and his thing is to go to attractions, and he's like, this place is wild in New Hampshire. So I went to there, and there's like tons of stuff on Instagram with all this stuff. But the greatest thing about the place was it was almost empty. It was ideal for somebody with avoidant personality disorder. It was sold out, but because there are restrictions of how many people can be in different locations, you weren't ever next to somebody, and it just was not packed. I gotta get these cats in the house. See, it's too early for me to be making these videos. Too many cars. So, I'm waiting for this car to go. Oh, great. Okay, it's okay, Perry. It's okay, Perry. Anyway, they should have put their lights on quicker. So anyway, I put 2 and 2 and 2 together. Come on, Perry, let's go up the hill. And here's what I've decided to do. And this is insane. And I'll tell you, this is nuts. Is I have decided, and I have booked my next trip to Disney World, which is one of the places, if you've watched my videos, there are certain places I say it's fantastic to go if you're a person with avoidant personality disorder who is not agoraphobic, because everybody is so self-absorbed, they're not going to notice you at all. It was New York, it's Amsterdam, it was New Orleans is like that. I'd almost say Las Vegas, except no, because people are trying to exploit people, and that's the problem, you get caught. Like, I was just in Morocco in February. No, hard no, you will be noticed. I think you're noticed in Italy, more than you would imagine. London was sort of like, but Disney World, everybody is so self-absorbed that they're not going to notice anything about you unless you're doing flash photography on one of the rides. I have seen... Is he coming? Yes, he's coming. I have seen videos from what they're uploading now. There's nobody there. I checked the wait times. It is open as it can be. And it is as packed as it can be. 5-minute wait times on these rides. I'm like, Jesus. And it is, some of it is as foreign as it can be in the United States. Of course, it's Disneyfied and it's, curated, and it's, kind of a watered down version of whatever, but still, it's definitely different from this place. So, yeah. So my plan to use planning trips as a way of sort of like, it's so weird to say giving me purpose, but really that's what it is. It's a thing to focus on. And the same with the Patreon. It's a thing to focus on and to remember. There are these people out there that have, now have, they believe in me, I guess is a way of putting it. It's kind of creepy as a person with avoidant personality disorder. That's maybe not the right word, but it kind of is. It's sort of like, oh my goodness, there's somebody that like what? But it's also got enough of a filter that it's not. If it was somebody that showed up at my house and gave me money, I would freak out and say, no way in hell. But this is different, and it's very small, and I can maintain and keep things going. So, yeah, I'm about 4 or 5 months out since I started that, and since last, so maybe a little bit past 6 months since about 6 months, because it was after I came back from Italy that it sort of like hit me of, so a little more than 6 months since it hit me that I could use that as a more adaptive coping technique to use travel and planning to travel as a distraction. And because when I was a kid, I want to say this, I was a kid, I was a young adult, it's more like I used to cut, and it would basically stop the voices in my head. And the planning, I have to concentrate so much and look through so much data and filter it down and get, and then make a decision. And that's enough to stop those voices almost in the same way. It affects me almost in the same way. Somebody told me, I'm glad you're doing a trip because, it's actually one of the Patreon people, I'm glad you're doing a trip because you're giddy. And I don't think that's accurate. Oh God, I've lost the cats. I haven't been watching for them. Oh, there's one. Oh, I now have to go collect them again. Oh, there's two. Oh, Perry, don't go running in the woods. He's being brave. Anyway, said I was giddy and over the prospect of planning a trip, and so glad that I'm doing it again. I don't know that that's also accurate, but it worked. It worked, and the things that I was thinking, oh, this is going to make it impossible. Oh, come on, Pop. It's going to make it impossible. These are the excuses I'm using. Oh, there's Percy. I guess he came out. These are the excuses I'm using not to try a different coping technique. I pushed through that and just tried anyway. And so far it's worked out. So I'm being really long-winded, but that's kind of the point, is try. Because you never know. Something might click and it might work. And that's a good thing. Anyway, now that I found the cat, I'm going to go.